Well, guess who? I'm back. It's been a while since I put a video together, but I thought this one I would put out just because if you remember Carlson on WKRP in Cincinnati, and he said, I believed that turkeys could fly. Well, that's an innate belief that he had, and my innate belief that I had was you can't pull lifters out of a small block 302 without pulling the heads out. So here I am. I had real bad lifter issues this summer. I kept adjusting the lash on them. I tried a heavier oil. I tried a additive to try to silence the lifter, but she just kept on ticking. And then, worst part is she was really warm. I took her to a car show, of course, shut it off. And as I was sitting there, I guess the pressure was on that one bad lifter, and it squeezed all the oil out of it, as you can imagine. And what ended up happening, unfortunately, is when I started the car, it was like somebody had a ball-peen hammer and was hitting the valve cover. It was so loud and so obnoxious. And I thought, okay, that's it. So I let it idle, and it slowly went away and eventually stopped. And then I thought to myself, okay, now I got to identify the lifter, and I got to pull the lifter out, which means I got to pull the heads off of this thing, because remember, turkeys know how to fly. And I take the intake manifold and I look and I go, wow, that is one heck of a distance here. I mean, that's quite a bit of a distance. And I thought, well, if that's will that come out? And so I just take my magnet here and start pulling up on the lifter, and the lifter comes out. And I thought, I can't believe it. I always thought you had to pull the heads to pull the lifters on a 302. Anyways, so what am I going to do? This engine was only built about 2 years ago. It is really built well. And there's not even a mark on the bottom of this lifter. So I'm just going to change all 16 lifters. I'm not going to take a chance that there was a bad batch. I'm not going to take a chance that for some whatever reason, the one lifter is going to be the anomaly, and then in a year from now, another lifter is not going to collapse. So I ordered a whole new set of comp cam lifters, and I'm going to get them tomorrow. And that'll allow me to pull all these lifters and replace them with brand new ones. Of course, you're supposed to soak them. So when I get the new lifters in, I'm going to put a tray of motor oil. I'm going to let them soak overnight, and then I'll put them into the engine. I really only have about 1,000 miles on this car, if even that, so maybe 900 miles. And the reasoning is this summer's been a beautiful summer, not much rain, and I ride a motorcycle. So on a sunny day, either I take the car or the motorcycle. And this year, the motorcycle won out. So the car has actually not been driven a lot. So I thought to myself, well, you know what? Let's check all these out. That's why I pulled the whole train out. If you look on the bottom of all of these lifters, it's like they're brand new, except you can see a ghost of a ring around the outside. But that ghost of a ring is normal. The reasoning is because when they grind a cam is not flat, and the tappet doesn't sit, or the lifter doesn't sit flat on the cam. It actually sits on an angle. There's an angle on that, so that when the cam is rotating, it rotates the lifter. And that way the lifters rotate the board. I've gone through all 16 of these, and they are in perfect condition other than that little bit of a ghost. So I'm going to take a chance. I've decided that it's possible that with 2 lifters bad out of the original 16, that this engine manufacturer got a bad batch, a bad run. Maybe there was a problem with the spring, the hardening, whatever. I don't know. So I went with a whole new different manufacturer. These are comp cams. These are the same exact lifters, except the difference is it's a different manufacturer. And of course, as you can see, they are now soaking in oil. And that way there we can make sure there are no air bubbles inside these. But in order to make sure or guarantee that these are full, when I get this reassembled, I have an adapter for the drill that I can run my oil pump. So I'm going to manually run the oil pump once all of this is reassembled, and I'm going to make sure that oil is coming out of all of the rockers. Well, the good news is because these new lifters are not married to the push rods, we can just start inserting them, and the messier the better. So basically, we just start dropping the new lifters into the engine.
Okay, so I'm holding the push rod and the rocker for the intake for number 1 cylinder. Now you're going to notice on the push rod that the push rod has actually got a little bit of a wear mark here, and that is because the engine's got guides, and it can rub on the guide a bit, right, because there's not much slack in there, but that's so that the rod can't move back and forth, and also because this can move and pivot, they wanted to make sure that's secure. So basically we insert the push rod, it sits inside of the cup on the new lifter. We put the valve train back on, and the rocker's back on. Now I'm just going to bring this down to where it stops, and that's it, because I'm going to be adjusting this separately anyways. So what we're going to do now is rinse and repeat that 16 times, and we will get the valve train back in, and then we will start on how to set the proper lash on these things.
Okay, it's the next day. I've already put in all of the lifters, I put in all of the push rods, and I put in all of the rockers. I also put the intake on because I knew today I wanted to start the car, and because you're sealing that intake on, right, you got to seal it with all that gasket gunk, you know, to make sure that the valley doesn't leak. I wanted that to have 24 hours, so I've already put the intake on. Sorry if you can't see the valley anymore, but I wanted to make sure that was done. So what we're going to do is we're going to set these valves. Now, where I used to get my engines done, the guy there, he kind of explained this really easily when it comes to setting the valve lash. Now, if you've got hydraulic or if you've got flat, or if you've got solid lifters, basically the thing they have in common is you have to make sure that both the valves that you want to adjust, are absolutely on the heel of the cam. They are not on the lobes, right? That the lifters are not trying to lift. So how do you do that? Well, he told me, basically, just make sure you know the firing order of your engine. Now, in my case, it's 15426378. I get that off of my cam card for this engine. Now, you got to watch it. Some specialty engines like the Bosses, or in this case here, my other engine, which was a 347, had a different cam in it and actually had a different firing order. But just make sure you know your firing order. And then he tried to explain to me, he goes, well, listen, if you rotate the engine to top dead center number 1 on firing, which means it's past compression and it's just about to fire, right? And you can see here by the picture I've got it at, you know, top dead center, 0 degrees. And I made sure that it's on the power stroke, which means I turned the engine, I watched the intake valve move, which means it was letting, you know, as the piston was coming down, it was letting fuel air into it. And then I kept rotating it, and then you can see the piston coming back up and the valve starting, or and the lifter dropping. And I rotate it until I am at 0. That means number 1 is about to fire. That spark plug is about to fire. So where do you think the valves are on a piston that not only just went through a compression stroke, but is about to fire? Well, you know those 2 valves on number 1 are on the heel of the cam. Now, there are other complicated ways to do this. I mean, you literally could start setting number 8s, because you know 8 is already going down the, 8 just fired. So 8 is actually ahead of 1. So 8's already gone down or traveling down the cylinder. So you could think of that as maybe that's even better to be on the heel. But as he said, when it comes to hydraulics, it's as easy as this. Number 1, it's about to fire, and therefore both those valves are closed, right? They have to be closed. They're not going to fire with the valves open. So basically, I'll just go to number 1 and I will set the lash. But before I do that, these are brand new lifters. I had them soaking in oil, but that means nothing. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go get my drill. I have an adapter that allows me to run the oil pump with my drill, and we're going to run the oil pump, and we're going to pump these lifters up, because I want oil in these lifters. I want oil coming out of the lifters so that when I actually do my adjustments, they will be tightening down on the pressurized lifters, not on empty lifters. So let me go get that. Okay, so this is it here. It is simply a shaft that has a guide on it, and at the end, this is for the forward oil pump. And make sure, though, you run the drill backwards. Remember, the rotation of the spark, or on the distributor, is counterclockwise, which means it runs backwards. So you make sure when you're running the oil pump is running backwards as well. So we simply take the oil pump, There we go. So I'm going to run it backwards now, and I'm going to bring you in for a close-up.
Okay, here we go. Going to start it up. You see all the oil coming out of there now? All of these valves got oil. Okay, so we've pressurized all of the lifters. All of the lifters don't have any pressure on them, so they're going to be full now. And now what we can do is set the lash on all of these things.
So as we were saying, number one, we know this is just about the fire. So what we're going to do is we're going to just hand turn these down until they stop. And then you grab onto the push rod and rotate the push rod and tighten the nut. And again, this is just my fingers doing this. And eventually, I have a hard time rotating the push rod. Same thing on this side. Push rod's turning easy. I tighten down the nut a bit, and therefore I can't turn the push rod anymore. So now these are zero lash, or what I like to refer to it as there's no slack in this anymore. These are solid. Now what we do is we're going to rotate these nuts 3/4 of a turn. So you grab your whatever wrench you're using. We're going to go 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So now we've got 3/4 on that. We're going to now take our Allen key and lock down the lock nut. And now I take both of these now and turn it. And you can see now that really locked it in. Sure, I moved it a little bit more, but hydraulic system doesn't really matter. And again, same thing. 3, 1, 2, 3. And again, the same thing. Lock it down. That's number one done. Now with number one done, I'm going to go rotate the engine, and then we're going to do number 5. Now, as I said, we're going to go 1/4 turn. If we look down, I can see my crank. On top dead center, I can see my yellow marks. I'm going to rotate this engine 1/4 turn. There we go. My yellow marks are now at 90 degrees, which means number 5 is about to fire. So same thing here. All I do is I tighten these down by hand, rotate the push rods until I can't rotate them anymore, or they're very sticky. Those are set now. All I do is I take the same wrench and the Allen key, and we lock those down as well. I pushed it out. Let's start it. So I've got the heater on. That's 1800 RPM. We're just about to bake off. There's going to be some smoking because obviously I got oil everywhere, especially since I pulled those exhaust manifolds. We'll keep an eye on the fluid levels, and then we'll start to speed up a bit. I'm going to go slow it down. Okay, we got 8 degrees of advance when she's idling, and 32 degrees advance when she is at full at 3,000 RPM. So we're going to keep it like that. I don't like having too much advance on this engine. It's not that it's not a race prepped engine, so 32 degrees is fine, and sounds good. And I guess we are ready to stitch this back together. Well, here's the sneak peek I promised you. Remember in the movie Mad Max, there was a scene where he approaches his new car and the guy says, you know what, welcome to the last of the V8 Interceptors. So that was the last of the V8s. In my case here, This is the last of the pushrod V8s from the Ford Mustang. This is a 1995 5-liter. In 1996, Ford introduced the mods, or the modulars. So this was the last pushrod you could get in the Mustang. And this is actually a little bit more special than that. This is a 1995 SVT Cobra. Now the SVT Cobras, you can tell right away, they are fully rollarized right out of the factory. These are Ford stamped parts, but actually still say crane cams on them. So these are Ford roller lifters and full roller rockers, and also GT40 heads, so a better flowing, higher compression head on these engines. So these were the high performance engines of 1995. But you're gonna have to wait and see what this is for. Anyways, great to be back, and I hope to see you guys in the next few weeks with my next release. I'll see you then.